Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That's just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the great state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello, my friends, and welcome to this beautiful, beautiful Monday. By beautiful, I mean I'm wiping for the sleep from my eyes still, and it's been wow, it's here. Can you believe it? All right, Monday morning, already halfway through November and rapidly approaching that great month of December where we get a chance to relax and enjoy the holidays and everything else. Welcome back to the program, and thanks for coming in and being part of it today. The Monday edition of the show today, and I was working on Ronald Bailey. Eric Bain from Reason Magazine, who's going to come on with us and talk with us about tariffs. But this morning, he's actually doing he's doing a roundtable on it. He's going to be moderating a debate about tariffs this morning, actually. So he couldn't do it today, but he will be on the program on Wednesday to talk about it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the potential tariffs and what does it mean? Because again, if that was one thing that I was concerned about amongst the discussions with President Trump's policies and everything else, tariffs was one thing. And we need to know more. We need to know more. We need to understand it. And so we'll take a look at that this week. Tomorrow, Brad Keithley, Chris Story. Also later this week, we're going to be talking with Brad Anderson, who is the executive director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce. They've got a big event coming up for Thanksgiving. We're also going to be talking. We got a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on this week. But first and foremost, I need to let you know, because just so you can prepare yourself, next week is Thanksgiving. Did I say that right? Next week is Thanksgiving. Is that where we're at? Yes, next week is Thanksgiving. The weeks are all blending together for me. I just want you to know that right now. I got a lot of things going on, and the weeks are just kind of blending together for me. Next Thursday and Friday, obviously the 28th and 29th, is going to be Thanksgiving. Now, traditionally, I'm off on Thanksgiving, which will be the case this week, that will be the case. But also, I have some stuff happening, and so I am actually taking all of next week off. Monday through Friday, I will be off from the 25th through the 29th, returning back to the airwaves on December the 2nd. And then we will continue on into the holidays, and I once again will be taking the time off between Christmas and New Year as well. And so I know that's a little unusual for some of you. You're like, wait, I thought you were just yes, I know. But this has got to happen, because otherwise I might die. There's so much stuff going on. I have so much stuff, so many things happening that I might literally die from all the stuff going on. So I have to get it all done. So I will be off the air starting Monday of next week through Friday of next week, returning to the airwaves on Monday, December the 2nd. I wanted you guys to know so you're not freaking out. Okay. I mean, that's what's going on. So just FYI, and I'll be announcing this all this week so that it's no big surprise in case somebody shows up and they're like, what happened to Dukes? He's gone. He's, somebody else is on the air. It'll be one of those things. So we'll be talking about it all week. And I know some people are already sad because I actually announced this late last week in the chat room off the air, just so that the chat room people would be prepared, because they have extra special needs. They need to know, and they're nice. They're lucky. They get all the extra info ahead of time. So it's gonna be good stuff. Okay. What do we got here for today? Well, anyway, the reason I started off talking about Eric Boehm is that I thought he was going to be on this morning. Turns out we can't do it. So it's you and me this morning going over all the latest and greatest from around the state of Alaska, different stories and discussions, plus the latest from the Division of Elections. They did some more counting this weekend. They did. They've been busy little beavers. And we've got the latest results from the Saturday count. That was the latest. That was the latest results was from Saturday at 4:00 in the afternoon. They uploaded the latest results, and things continue to shape up and eke out. In fact, so much so that the Nick Beggage's campaign and Nick Beggage himself felt comfortable enough to call the election in their favor. And so the Beggage campaign has said that they're now declaring victory. I was hoping to have Nick on today because I'm going to be off next week, but maybe we'll have to have him back on the 2nd of December to talk about it and where we're going from here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Unless, of course, he texts me and decides to call in this morning just out of the blue, which, I mean, I wouldn't say no to that. Wouldn't say no to that at all. All right. So some of the stories that we're going to cover here this morning include Beggage's declaration and what some of those numbers mean. There's also an interesting piece by Jenna Kuntz on the Alaska Daily or Anchorage Daily News, talking about Alaskans continuing to leave the state and how that trend is continuing and what does it mean. We'll also talk about some of the school closures that they're going on around the state, but Anchorage is having a cow about it. And some of the discussions around that and some of the opinions are really not that helpful because nobody is talking about the major component of that, which is who pays. Who pays for, because the people are like, we can't, my children, and the emotional damage. And but the question is, of course, who pays? Who pays in that kind of stuff? Also, the weirdest story that you never heard about, and maybe you did, and I apologize. Maybe I was the one that wasn't paying attention, but it was the story about a rural Alaska mayor who just canceled the elections and stayed in office by fiat, and that's now come to a head with a felony conviction. But I mean, I hadn't even heard about this story. So James Brooks over at the ADN's got something on us for that. And one of my listeners dropped me a story after I was gushing last week about Tulsi Gabbard as the new pick for the Director of National Intelligence. And he dropped me a story from defense1.com, which is it's a policy website that's based around obviously defense and intelligence and everything else. And there's an interesting article there, which I think bits and pieces got picked up by the AP on, because I see there's an AP story this morning talking about it as well, with some counterpoints about Tulsi Gabbard being the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence. And the headline reads, "Extraordinarily Dangerous. Intelligence community insiders warn against Trump's DNI pick." And so we'll talk a little bit about that. Although, again, we don't normally deal with national politics, but since I opened my fat mouth and said, "Boy, I think that's I think that's an interesting pick," and I likened it to like the ultimate troll moment, because she just been put on the Open Skies watch list for not being able to fly. Anyway, we could talk about that as well this morning, and I'm hoping to be able to take your phone calls. But I just noticed that something's going on with my phones. So the phones were on, but now I've got no audio. So we'll take a look at that during the commercial break and see if we can figure that out as well. Whew, man, that's a lot, man. That's a lot to start off your Monday with. Are you awake yet? Are you ready to go? It's a lot. Let's start off with the idiot of the day, shall we? Shall we start off with the idiot of the day? I read this story and I just had to laugh because well, let's just start off with, back on Thursday, state authorities were asking for the public to call police if they saw a man who was wanted for robbery down on the Kenai. Apparently, he had committed some kind of robbery near Anchor Point, north of Homer, and they said they were looking for this guy, Tanner Allen Geyser. He was wanted on multiple warrants. They said, don't approach him, call 911, everything else. Part of the stuff that they said he was wanted for was that he was wanted on multiple warrants, including robbery and kidnapping. Now, not only did they put this press release out, but they also posted it to Facebook, right? And so this guy actually responded on Facebook. I mean, this guy that they're looking for you. And they said, Alaska State Troopers seek public assistance locating Tanner Allen Geyser in Anchor Point. He's wanted on multiple warrants, including robbery and kidnapping, yada, yada, yada. And this guy responds and says, actually, that's pretty false. Kidnapping is not even a charge on my record. I do not harm people or their property. The troopers falsely put these allegations out on me. I have proof. So all you Anchor Point people, you know you've never seen me around your property. I've never done no harm. I'm no thief, and you guys know it. Look at court view and see my charges. I hope the trooper stays warm. This guy is arguing. This guy is arguing with the troopers on social media, right? And so a review by KTUU found that it was true. There was no kidnapping charges on Geyser's name. The DPS spokesman told KTUU on Friday that the mistaken warrant was a result of a miscommunication between the district attorney and the state troopers. So he wasn't wanted on kidnapping charges. He was, however, wanted on burglary charges, robbery. I guess there's a difference between robbery and burglary, right? Robbery is when there's somebody actively involved. Anyway, they said on Friday that he was found roughly 20 hours after the troopers first reported that he was being sought. He was taken into custody just before 2 p.m. on Friday at some Anchor Point residence, and he is now in custody. And this guy he looks awesome. He looks like tattoos under his eyes, full neck, whole thing looking like, the stereotypical, it was a stereotypical mud chop. But I just had to laugh because this guy was literally arguing with the state troopers on social media. You don't get me. He was indignant that he'd been accused of being a kidnapper, when instead he's just a plain old robber. I mean, I guess if you've got to die on that hill, you've got to take a stand. That's the place I guess you need to go to take a stand is, right there. That's where you want to go. Okay. I mean, I could see that. I could see it. All right. So anyway, that was my giggle for this morning because I was like, wow. Just wow. And somebody loved his comment, by the way. Somebody hearted his comment. I don't know if it was him or somebody else. It's just a screenshot I can't see, but somebody actually loved that comment. You gotta love it, I guess. All right, we're going to be back. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense, Liberty Based, Free Thinking Radio.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes on Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, hello, my pretties. How are you guys? How are you guys doing? I do not know what is going on with my okay. Can I change this? Sorry, I'm trying to fix. I just noticed that there's no. Okay, let's try that one. Let's try that one and see what happens. I just noticed that there was no audio coming out of my phone system, which is a little troubling. Let's see, does that work?
Welcome to the conferencing service.
Okay, all right. I got it to work. I don't know why it wasn't working the other way, but now it's working. So the phones.
All participants are muted.
Okay, all right. Phones are working. Dang it. Dang it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not a technical support guru. Or he should sound like, oh, Jim, I am a doctor, not a technical support guru. All right. How dare you, stir? I've never stolen people before. I just had to laugh at this guy. He's just like he's arguing. He's arguing with the police on the Oh man, it is just not good. All right, Homer Spit not looking good, said Rick. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Oh, Brian pulling a Alec tariffs in the frog water, making the frogs gay. Yeah, I mean tariffs. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me move this back. There we go. Okay. You are special in so many ways. Tell the Division of Elections they're allowed to take off their socks and use toes to tally as well. My God, what a slow process. Yeah. I mean, yeah. What's going on? What? I'm sorry, David. I hadn't seen this story. Definition of insanity. FDA requires Costco to recall 80,000 pounds of butter because the label didn't say it contains milk. Well, I am not ready. I am not ready. All right. Did you hear? Did you hear about the increase in the port tariff? Everything will be going up 7.5% next month. The Assembly approved this increase on November 2nd, so be prepared. It was just mentioned in Must Read Alaska. Port tariff. I didn't see that. That. Oh, there we go, right there. Cost of living. Okay, I'll read that. Thank you for the. We'll go over that here in just a second. Did you see? I'm sorry, I got to read this story too. I'm giggling to myself here. Let's see. You need to call a friend in Homer and see how much damage was to this. I've seen some of the videos. And KTUU actually has a big, they've got an interview out with the harbor master down in Homer. And they've got pictures of all that stuff. I mean, a couple of the buildings was there. Just the whole back of the building was crushed. Did you see that? Bill says, not too much damage, one boardwalk and road damage. We will rebuild. But did you see the backside of the bait shop there, Bill? It had crushed in the little, there's some damage there. Yeah. Bill says, I happen to know who hearted that post on Facebook. I was laughing my butt off. Okay. All right. I guess we'll get back to it. I'm just kind of stream of consciousness this morning. Yep. Had a busy weekend, and hopefully it'll slow down here in the near future. We're good. Henry, you're making me tired, dude. Oof. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show.
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right. Good morning. You ready to do this thing? This bright and beautiful and clear Monday morning. 0 degrees. 0 degrees. Right here at the old Radio Ranch. It's a crisp and clean. Crisp and clean. You guys ready for another week broadcast? Maybe be awkward. We'll figure it out. One way or the other. It'll be one of the two. Let's continue on here with some of the stories that are going on out there. By the way, I got the phones fixed during the commercial break, so in case you want to sound off this morning and talk about, it's open line. Whatever topic you want to bring, I'd love to hear. Phone number right now, 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. If you want to come on board and talk about pretty much anything. I did say good moaning. You're moaning. If you want to come on and moan about anything, now is the time to do it. And let's go. Let's do it. Okay. Somebody pointed me to a news story here. Let's just read it together, shall we? I'm going to get to the election results, but I want to wait till a little bit later in the program, so I'm not repeating ourselves. But I do want to talk about this story because I missed this one somehow. It was down in I wasn't paying attention to the news services over the weekend, all right? I was doing my recap this morning at 4:45 this morning, and somehow I missed this story. But since I have the smartest listeners in the world, they were kind enough to point it out to me. So the cost of living across Alaska is going to go up starting in December. It's not a prediction. It's not a what if. It is an absolute fact. Why? Well, because the Anchorage Assembly passed a tariff on all Alaskan consumers. Span Alaska announced that due to a tariff increase approved by the Anchorage Assembly on the 2nd of November, all freight coming through the Port of Alaska will be increasing by 7.5% starting in December. The company said that last year it absorbed the rate increase. This is apparently, I apologize, it wasn't on the 2nd of November. It was on July 25th of 2023. They had passed this new Port of Alaska Modernization Program surcharge, a tariff, 7.5%. They said that they had absorbed the rate increase last year, but now it's our turn. Because why? Tariffs are always passed on to the consumer. They can only be absorbed for a finite amount of time by the businesses, and then they are passed on to the consumer. Yep. The surcharge applies to all commodities shipped through the Port of Alaska, including southbound shipments and intrastate shipments from Kodiak or to Kodiak and Dutch Harbor. The per-ton fee became effective on January 1 and was collected as part of the Muni's financing plan for the construction of new cargo terminals. Ocean carriers pay this fee to the port and pass on the cost to shippers, including Span Alaska. Throughout the 2024 season, Span absorbed this fee without assessing the customers, they said, but now it's going to have to pass those costs along because the assembly just jacked the tariffs even more, and this will increase the cost of living to Alaskans who got their goods through the Port of Alaska. On November the 6th of this year, just 12 short days ago, the Anchorage Assembly approved an increase in tariffs to help pay for the program. Effective January 1st, the fee will increase from 59 cents to $4.80 a ton, and from $9.50 per container to $75 per container on full loads. Just suck that up for a second and think about that. It went from 59 cents a ton to $4.80 a ton. Who pays? We pay. We all pay. 49 cents a ton to 59 cents a ton to $4.80 a ton. What is that? An 8-fold increase? And from $9 per container to $75 per container on full loads. The Port of Alaska Commission will conduct ongoing reviews and adjustments to the fee extending beyond 2025. The tariff increase will have a notable effect on shipments through the Port of Alaska, and as a result, Span Alaska will introduce a PAMP surcharge effective January 1st. The general rate increase will be 7.5% more on all cargo effective December 15th and will include Central Alaska, Kodiak, Dutch Harbor, Southeast, and intrastate freight. The higher cost of goods will be compounded by the fact that ballot measure 1 will also increase all union wages across Alaska, a cost that will also be passed on to consumers. So just in case you were wondering, yes, it just got a little more expensive to live here in Alaska. But I mean, that jump from 59, I'm sorry, I apologize. It's not even 59 cents a ton. I don't know. That's got to be a typo. I just realized that there's a 0 in front of the 5. So it's 0.59%. Excuse me, $0.59, which would be just under 6 cents a ton to $4.80 a ton. Oh, that's got to be a typo. It's got to be 59 cents a ton. But either way, to multiply it all the way up to $4.80 from 60 cents or 6 cents a ton to $4.80 a ton, that seems like a quantum leap from one side to where do they think that money's going to come from? Right? I mean, 6 cents a ton. Okay, we can absorb that. $5 a ton? Oh no, that's a whole different critter. That's a whole different critter. Why do they hate us? Why do they hate us so much? Chris in the chat room just said, I already paid $10 for half a gallon of milk in Seldovia. Now it's going to go up more. Yeah, you better get used to that powdered milk, man. No more fresh milk for you. No more fresh milk for you. Oh, man. Crazy. Remember that Lathrop High School walkout that we talked about here last week? And we were mocking it a little, not a little bit. We were mocking it a lot. Lathrop is my alma mater, right? So I just got to go, I was cleaning up some stuff this weekend and I found a box that had some of my report cards in it. I don't know how, it was a box my mom had sent me or something with some of my old school paperwork and stuff in it. And I was looking through my grades, my report cards. And I was an okay student. I wasn't a great, but what really surprised me about that whole thing was that I thought I spoke German a lot better than I did. I mean, I don't think I got more than I think the highest grade I got was a B- in German over 4 years, or 4 or 5 semesters. I guess it wasn't years, it was semesters worth of report cards. And I'm like, he must have really hated me. I mean, that guy must have really hated me. The teacher, he's a nice guy. I just didn't remember my grade being a C in German. I'm like, that's weird. Anyway, so these students, they had the walkout. And how many people got in there, and how many of these kids skipped class and got out there and to scream and make a difference and prevent President Trump from being president? 30 of 900. 30 of 900. Fewer than 30 of the 900 students enrolled in Lathrop High School in Fairbanks took part in the walkout on Wednesday that protested the election of Trump as president. They carried signs during this protest, one of which ironically said, "Abortions save lives." I mean, there's a conundrum in that. And if you can't, maybe the high school is not doing quite as well as we thought it was doing. If that's what you've got a Lathrop student say, abortion saves lives. Well, I mean, I suppose it could save one life at the expense of the other, but, and does it mean save lives like literally medically, or like my life is now free because I don't have to have a kid? I don't know. Anyway, there was other ones as well, ones that referred to climate change, the importance of LGBTQ plus QIA, other stuff, and other democratic issues. The protest, of course, as we mentioned last week, was supported by the Native-oriented Sunrise Movement and the Alaska Center for the Environment's Alaska Youth and Environmental Action Program, which is underwritten by dark money from outside. Meanwhile, this wasn't there when I was in high school. They had that big Spirit Rock, right? They had the big Spirit Rock outside where they allow the kids to basically, you're allowed to basically tag, paint, vandalize the rock, right? It was a place where you could go out and paint the rock and do whatever you want. Meanwhile, during the protest, somebody painted MAGA on the rock near the entrance to the school in big white letters. They painted the rock red and they wrote MAGA on it. They're just trolling these 30 students at the school. Anyway, I just had to laugh because, they got the coverage. Oh, we're going to do the walkout. We're going to make a difference. We're going to do all this kind of things. And then 30 people show up. And somebody trolls them over at the rock by placing, by putting all the MAGA on it. This is a good Monday, man. With stories like this, this is a good Monday. I feel good about today. I feel good about it. These are just light and frivolous stories, and I like it. But before we come back, when we come back, we're going to talk about this. This is the story that I never heard of. Now, maybe you did. Maybe you were paying attention and you caught this. But this is the first time I've heard about this story, where a rural mayor in Alaska decided to cancel elections and just basically tried to install himself, apparently, as a potentate, as the leader and got away with it for almost got away with it for 2 years before somebody said, "Hey, this ain't right. I don't think this is right." We're going to talk about this here in just a minute. Where is this at? What's the story? We're going to get into that. Plus, the phone lines are open. As you can tell, we're just kind of chugging along, talking about whatever we feel like. You want to join the conversation? 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. Frank said, I had a perfect 2.25 GPA. Mine was slightly higher, but not by much, Frank. I look back and I said, well, I was just over a mediocre student, right? It was like 5 or 6 semesters in there, and one of them I had a D in algebra, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that, because I just didn't care. I don't know why. Basic math is fine. Algebra, geometry, I was just like, I don't even care. Anyway, it was one of those things. Oh, supposed to be minus 28 tomorrow in Fairbanks. Hey, you can have that stuff. You can have that stuff. Uh-oh, I didn't hear this. Both Channel 11 and Channel 13 are shutting down their news and will be broadcast from Anchorage. Huh. Interesting. Okay. District F is a toss-up. And whose fault is that? I'm just asking for a friend. Just asking for a friend. All right. I'm still going through here. 2 years. Oh, and that's somebody just mentioned too. That's not to mention the fact, that the Assembly is now talking about a sales tax on top of it. So not only are they increasing all this other stuff plus 7.5%, now they're going to add a sales tax on top of it. I mean, why do you guys hate us? Why do you hate us? I mean, all that stuff. I guess this is why I shop at Costco, to buy it in bulk. It's the only way I can afford it, but okay. Wait. Am I understanding that the shipper passes the cost on to the consumer? I know. Shocking, right? It's shocking. It really is. Shocking that kind of stuff happens. The Anchorage Assembly can do that for the Anchorage community, but not for the rest of the state. Sue them, Matsu Port. Well, I mean, yeah, except for the fact that they have the Port of Alaska is in Anchorage. I mean, they have the jurisdictional thing going on there. I mean, yeah, Gail, 30 kids out of 900. Yeah, that's a big turnout there. Yeah. Don't forget the painted red with MAGA rock they found outside Lathrop. I know. That's what I was laughing. Yeah. Abortion saves lives is a great marker of intellectual capacity, just like Queers for Palestine. Yeah, I don't think that you keep saying things like that, and I don't think that I don't think that it means what you think it means. I don't think it's going to turn out quite the way you envisioned it. Let's see. Speaking of this story that I'm about to get to, Anthony says, I mean, you got to give him props for the effort, I guess. Can't get voted out if I cancel voting. It is a bold strategy. Oh, man. All right. He was quite a character, had a checkered history. All right. With the wind chill factor, says Teresa, it's big time below zero here. Where's here, Teresa? Wind chill is what gets you. Yeah. Wind chill will get you every time. Okay. All right. Well, look at that. I'm all caught up on the comments. Time for Port McKenzie to become competitive. I mean, I would like to see that. Maybe the Matsu Borough should jump in on that action. All they have to do is undercut the Port of Anchorage a little bit, right? That's all they have to do. Donna said, I think she meant maybe it's oil, but oil taxes. I think she meant all taxes are passed on to the consumer, but oil taxes are also passed on to the consumer. Either way, I agree with that statement. Yeah. Sorry, Michael Gerhardt just said $21 worth of aluminum costs $143 to ship from Pennsylvania to Wasilla. Wow. And water filters that cost $29 for 4 will not ship. I mean, welcome to my world. There's so many things that just won't ship straight to Alaska. That's why I had to go to a freight forwarder to get it done. But now the freight forwarder is going to cost an extra 7.5% plus. All right, let's get to it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show.
The Michael Duke Show, proudly splitting the left versus right dichotomy. Yeah, I had to look that word up too. I don't think it means what he thinks it means. Here he is, though. That guy, Michael Dukes, the one with the show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. You ready? Are you ready?
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me. I just don't fathom it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff going around in this state, and including this guy that apparently decided to set himself up as king for, I was going to say, for 2 years. I had not heard of this story. I'll be the first to admit it. And kudos to James Brooks over at the Alaska Beacon for writing about this and for pulling this up. This is the story you never heard about of a small town in Alaska where the mayor declared himself, I don't know if it was, he just walked around saying, I'm king for a day or mayor for life or what. But Arthur Sammy Heckman Sr. has now agreed to plead guilty to a felony charge of unlawful interference with an election after illegally canceling a local 2023 election and hiding the results of a 2022 election while serving as acting mayor of Pilot Station. The Department of Law announced the plea deal on Thursday by email, but did not immediately answer a request for a copy of the plea deal in the associated documents. Pilot Station is a town of about 600 people on the Yukon River in southwest Alaska. Heckman and city clerk Ruthie Borromeo were indicted in July of 2024 by a grand jury on 8 felony counts apiece for their activities in pilot stations. Borromeo still has the charges against her are still pending, according to the online court documents and James Brooks. According to the email, apparently Heckman took office in May of 2022 after the death of Mayor Nikki Myers. Now, under the municipal code of Pilot Station, Heckman should have served only as an interim mayor until the October 2022 municipal election, when a permanent mayor would be chosen. According to state prosecutors, Heckman directed that all the ballots from the 2022 October election be kept in a locked filing cabinet and not counted. Nope, that's it. Put them right in there. Throw away. Click. Nobody counts those. And then a year later, okay, so picture this: you go and vote in an election, and the mayor, the pro tem mayor, the temporary mayor, whatever, he says, no, we're going to put all these ballots in this file cabinet and just lock it. And nobody says anything. Like, I mean, if you vote, you'd be like, I voted. What's the outcome of the election? Nobody knows because he didn't count any of the ballots. So a year later, it's coming up on October of 2023, he directed that the October 2023 municipal election not be held. You got it. It's a bold move. It's a bold move. Can't lose if you don't cast votes. I can't lose. It's what? I mean, who? What? Just what? Pilot Station residents then finally reported Heckman's actions to the Department of Law, whose Office of Special Prosecutions brought charges against both Heckman and Borromeo. Now, the final sentence of this story is the capper here that just make me go, what? It was not immediately clear why it took 2 years for Heckman's actions to come to. Nobody knew. Apparently, nobody outside of Pilot Station knew what was going on for nearly 2 years. They just had no clue, no idea. City's business is city's business. And nobody thought to bring this up. It was only after he declared that the October election was a no-go that somebody said, well, I don't think that's right. You're right, it's not right. Are you? Man, there are some stories across this state today that are just making you go, what? So yeah, for nearly 2 years, this guy just hung out. Was mayor. I mean, I don't know. It's not like they have a mayor's mansion or something. And he was just walking around in his silk pajamas, drinking champagne all day. But yep, let's just hide those election results, lock them in a file cabinet, and then we will cancel the 2023 election because reasons. So anyway, I just thought that was a very interesting take on like what's going on. Finally, I want to talk for just a minute here before we get too far along here about this story from Jenna Kuntz over at the Anchorage Daily News, talking about as more Alaskans continue to leave than arrive, here's where they're moving. And it's another story, again, talking about the depopulation of Alaska. And it's an interesting take because it talks a little bit about what Brad Keithley has gone into, the age and demographic of those people who are leaving. And again, it shows that we're losing people to places like Texas, Oregon, Washington, and Florida. Those are the biggest. They're the biggest recipients of people. That's where a lot of people are going. But it is the age demographic that really makes it stick out, because it used to be that people in their 20s and 30s were coming to Alaska more because there was an opportunity. There was always a dependable population boom of people in their 20s and 30s. And instead, that has started to decline. And this all lines up with the things that Brad's been talking about with that working age blue collar population leaving the state, along with the boomers who can't afford to live here on their retirement. And that the only plus side of the migration is those people who are in the top 20% who can afford to live here. And that's the only plus demographic on this whole thing here. It's an interesting piece from Jenna Kuntz over at the ADN, and I will post this up in the chat room for you to take a peek at if you'd like to take a look at it and see what's going on. Meanwhile, I do have one phone call on the hold, so let's go over there and see who's there, what they want to talk about before we run out of time for this hour. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning.
Good morning, Bonnie. What are you doing?
I'm talking to you.
All right. Well, what's on your mind today?
Well, I want to talk about, I've been not too long ago, I was in a village, and it was called because a lot of places like that, they do their own business and their own laws. It's called the blue ticket law. So if you misbehaved in the town, they put you on a plane and you can never return.
In some places, yeah, they do that. You basically get a banishment, right? I mean, the blue ticket thing, that was a thing for Alaska where they would tell people, I'll give you the blue. That was back when there was actually paper tickets that were given out when you bought an airline ticket, and a blue ticket was if the ticket was colored blue, that was identified as a one-way ticket. That was why you said you get the blue ticket. They give you a one-way ticket out of Alaska and say don't come back.
Well, where I was, it was called Chignik, Alaska. I don't know if you know where that is.
Yep.
But what they did was, I was working in the cannery there, myself and my husband. He's gone now. But this particular person decided he was going to go up on the hill in the town there, and he had a rifle. So they tackled the guy, and then they put him in the, it's called where they used to cook the salmon in. It was called the tort. They had to lock him up there till the state troopers to come and get him.
Right. Yeah, wrestle him to the ground. I mean, those are those unique rural Alaskan solutions to some of the problems when you don't have law enforcement or police officers right there in the community. All right, Bonnie, any final thoughts before I let you go?
Okay. No, that's all. You have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks very much. I appreciate you calling in this morning. Phone lines to call 319-527-3864, 319-527-3864. If you want to sound off. Terry in the chat room just said, these people are moving to Oregon and Washington, two of the bluest states. They won't be able to afford Oregon. Well, I would argue that probably they moved there because it's still closest in weather and, it's still probably Alaska-like there. But what really got me was the Texas. Most of the people who are leaving are going to Texas, which just tells me, because Texas, again, is doing everything it can do to attract visitors and to attract businesses and new residents to the state. They're working hard, and it's succeeding. It's succeeding there in Texas. They're doing a good job there. All right, we got to go. We got more coming up. We're going to hit those new numbers from the Division of Elections in hour 2. Plus, we'll take some more phone calls and see what else you want to say. We'll talk about Begich declaring victory and more. It's all ahead. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Okay, let me go back over here and close down some of these windows that we've already gone over, and so that I have more things to discuss. Oh, we're going to talk about that too. And okay, I'm all caught up. I'm all caught up on all the stuff that you guys are wanting to talk about. Okay. Let's see. I'm standing by my assertion that the slow dissolution of the ownership state is that what you're saying is you think is going on? That it's a slow dissolution of the ownership of the state? Who's getting ownership now? Harold said they banned him from Newtalk after he assisted the new council to be elected after 8 years of no elections. And you're banned. You brought us democracy, and now you're banned. It's crazy. Tawny also said they won't be able to afford Washington either with the new governor. Yeah. We've been here for 33 years and we're able to make better wages and prepare for retirement than in the lower 48. Now we retire in 6 months and already have a home in Florida for retirement. So move here, make your money, then retire where the sun shines and the cost of living is lower. I mean, it's a strategy. It's a strategy that I know many people have taken up, Gary. I mean, mean, Florida, I don't know why. I mean, Florida, that's just me, Florida. Why? But yeah, I know a lot of people have decided to do that. They came up here, high cotton. They put away as much as they could. They set their retirement up. They got their second home going. And of course, some people snowbirded. My grandparents, born, raised, lived in, my grandmother was born and raised. My grandfather moved up here when he was 16 from Pennsylvania. But they, born, worked, raised kids, did everything else in Fairbanks. And then when he retired, they snowbirded. They stayed, but they did have a place where they spent 4 or 5 months a year in Hawaii, and they had a condo in Maui. And I know a lot of people do that, but some people just pull up all stakes and go. Yeah, I mean, I understand that for sure. Did I watch the fight? No, I did not watch the fight. And for those of you who don't know what fight, it was the fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, who was a YouTube. Is he still a YouTube personality? I mean, I don't know. It's a 53, 54-year-old fighter versus a 25, 26-year-old guy. That was, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Let's see. If I was to leave, says Michael King, said, if I was to leave, I would go to Wyoming. Except don't go around Cheyenne, right? I mean, don't, because apparently Cheyenne is about as blue as Los Angeles, but the rest of the state's pretty good. That's the whole challenge there, Okay. All right. If it wasn't so humid, I'd move to Texas, said Terry. Well, I imagine that there's parts of Texas that aren't quite so humid. I mean, but it's not like Florida, right? Florida is you take a shower, you don't even bother to dry off. You just climb into your clothes. That's how humid it is in Florida. My daughter lives in Florida now, and she's told me a few horror stories about what it's like in Florida. Oh, man. Did they count more votes since 6 a.m. today? No, they have not. The last vote count was from Saturday, which is what we're going to talk about here in hour 2. Yes, by taking, okay, so this is Brian's response to his comment about the ownership state. By taking away the PFD and thus the idea of opportunity for younger people to have a stake. Yes. Okay, I understand now what you're saying. And I would agree. That is part of the problem here. Brian also says, I'm not here for the money. I like Alaska. I like the open space. I like the people, and I like the lifestyle. I love Alaska. I mean, I used to say that I'd never move out of Fairbanks. And then I moved out of Fairbanks and I got down here, and then I just changed that to I'll never leave Alaska. Because, the further south you go, a little bit better the weather gets. And there's, that's the thing. Alaska's so big, you can move from one side of the state to the other and get into a completely different biosphere, a completely different area. I love it. All right. We're not done with Peltola, says Willie. Rumors of running for retiring Senator Hoffman's chair or the governor's office, hence the last week campaign funding. Oh, man, that's all we need, right? More Peltola all the time. All right, we got to go. We are jumping into hour 2, dead ahead, the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Oh, yeah. Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello and good morning. Welcome to the program. It is the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live, and we are ready for this beautiful Monday edition of the show. As you can tell by the sound of my heater in the background, it's a little cool here at the old radio ranch. 0 degrees this morning. Or did it go up to 1? Let me see. What does it say? Nope. Still 0. Still 0 degrees here at the old hacienda. And we are trying to stay warm here as we get through this beautiful month of November. We're past the halfway mark. Next week is Thanksgiving. Normally it'd be this week that's Thanksgiving, but it's a late Thanksgiving this year. But next week is Thanksgiving, which reminds me of my housekeeping that I must let you know about for next week. Now, normally I take Thanksgiving off the Thursday and Friday. I take Thanksgiving off, which I am doing again this year. But wait, there's more. I'm also going to be taking off the rest of next week. In fact, I'm taking the entire week off next week from Monday through Friday. You'll have alternate programming in both markets. And I will be returning back to the airwaves on Monday, December the 2nd. Christmas time is here. It's that close. It's that close. So we're going to be all ready for some good stuff. So that will be next week. Again, the whole week I will be off the air, but I will be returning the following Monday. And I just wanted to let you guys know. I know it's going to kind of throw you for a loop, and I apologize. But as I said in the last hour, if I don't take next week off, I might literally die. I mean, I've got so much stuff going on. I might fall apart physically. So next week it'll be alternate programming, and then we'll be back with which is not really that big a deal because I was going to take Thursday and Friday off. I always take Thanksgiving off. So it's only 3 days. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. Today on the program, we've got some headlines. We've got the latest election results that were released at 4 p.m. on Saturday that we're going to go over. We're going to talk a little bit about Mark, why do I do that? Nick Begich's victory. He has declared victory officially. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Knik Tunnel, ? And the closure of schools down in Anchorage, which again is going to be a continuing trend, I think, across the state as you look at this and see. And if we have time, we might touch on this piece in Defense One talking about Tulsi Gabbard as Trump's pick for the Director of National Intelligence, the head of the ODNI, Office Director of National Intelligence, if we have enough time as well. But I do have to announce as well that, of course, the phone lines are open this morning, and we're taking your calls. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say today. It's open line, open forum. Any topic is fair game. If it's what I'm talking about, you want to change topics, whatever it is, then feel free to jump in and do it to it. 319-527-3864. Feel free to be part of it here. All right, well, let's get into this here a little bit and start talking about it. Nick Begich has now declared victory on Saturday. He basically said, that's it, I'm calling it. He maintained his lead over Peltola, which we'll talk about here in the numbers in just a moment. And he has officially decided that that was it. That he is now this joins many different outlets who have basically called this race that statistically it doesn't look like Peltola has a chance forward. And they're saying, in fact, now that what was it, 220? Just want to make sure I got the numbers right. 220 Republicans right now and 210 Democrats in the Congress, with still some seats left to be decided. But that 220 number puts them over the 218 for the majority. And so here we go. Here we are. This is where the rubber meets the road. It is now officially the Republican trifecta of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. I don't know how to feel about that quite yet, because historically, when they have had all three bodies, the Republicans have usually fumbled the ball somewhere along the line and not done a great job with it. So, I mean, this is their race to lose and screw up at this point. But that is the final amount. We're hoping to have Nick Begich on the program in this. Well, I was hoping this week, but probably it will be on December the 2nd. We'll probably get a chance to sit down and talk with him and get him on to talk about it, because he did promise. Remember, he did promise to stay with us and to keep us updated and to do all those things. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed and hold his feet to the fire that he will come back on the program and discuss his plans with us as we move forward. So let's take a look at some of the numbers and the election results as they have now come about, and we'll take a look at all this here. Let me pull up the latest numbers from the Division of Elections, which just have come out as of 4:14 p.m. on Saturday. These are the latest numbers as we go through. So we know that this is now 400 of the 403 of 403. This is 100%. Here we are, almost 2 weeks after the election, and we finally got all the precincts to report in. I mean, it only took 12 days. But here we are, 100% of all precincts reporting in. Obviously, we still know that President Trump, with a substantial win in Alaska, almost 55% of the vote, to Kamala Harris's 41%. So it was a pretty significant win for Trump. I mean, you knew that was probably going to happen, but that was what's going on. The latest numbers for the Congress, and this again is as of Saturday, Nick Begich with 48.72% of the vote. Now, that does not put him at the needed threshold. He would need to be at 50% plus one vote for the ranked choice voting not to be triggered, right? So we're still in the first round. This is still first choices. And even with first choices, he holds a nearly 10,000 vote lead over Mary Peltola, 48.72% to 46.10%. Now, between the third and the fourth place finishers, John Wayne Howe, the AIP candidate, with 12,544 votes, and Eric Hafner, hashtag Hafner 2024, Eric Hafner, the incarcerated Democrat, with 3,257 votes. Those votes would have to break. That's 15,700, 800 votes or so. Those votes would have to break by nearly 2/3, by over 65%. They'd have to break for Peltola to be able to have her overcome the Nick Begich lead at this point. And that would include, again, the second and third rounds of vote. And I know for certain, based on some of the numbers and based on the fact that I voted for Eric Hafner first just because I could. And I know there's many people who did that as well, that voted for Hafner first and Begich second, that Begich is going to pick up a significant number, a not insignificant number out of Hafner. But the John Wayne Howe vote, this is what kills me. Some of the numbers that we saw out of CINYC on Twitter, he's a numbers guy who analyzes different races and things like that. And he got some of the raw data out of Alaska through a public records request. And it showed that about 30% of John Wayne Howe's ballots were bullet votes, meaning they voted one and done for John Wayne Howe. So those ballots will be exhausted, 30%. So about 4,000 of the 12,000 gone. That leaves 8,000. And Mary Peltola's supporters, not her specifically, but some of the campaigns and some of the independent expenditure groups spent millions of dollars telling people not to vote for Nick Begich because he wasn't conservative enough, that instead they needed to vote for John Wayne Howe. Now, if you look at the race and you're like, Nick Begich is not conservative enough, so I'm going to vote for John Wayne Howe. But who amongst the remaining three would you give your second place vote to? Well, 30% said we're not giving it to anybody. But of the remaining, who would you vote for? If they kept telling you that Nick Begich was not conservative enough, do they think Mary Peltola is more conservative than Nick Begich? And the estimate is that about 60% of the remaining votes are going to break for Nick Begich, according to the numbers that are seen. And it will be the opposite on the Eric Hafner one, where about 60% of those votes will break for Mary Peltola. So statistically, again, with only 15,000 votes remaining with the final two candidates, and you cut a third of them out, that's only 10,000. And if it breaks 60% in the one direction with the largest amount this is statistically, Nick is done. Nick has drug it across the finish line. So I think that's why he was very comfortable in announcing on Saturday that the road to victory for Mary Peltola is statistically insignificant. It's not possible at this point, which has led to some other interesting things. Somebody in the chat room just said that because Mary Peltola, I don't know if you've been noticing this, but Mary Peltola has actually been doing fundraising on her campaign and her ask letters. I don't know if you've been seeing some of this. Some of this stuff is coming out where she's asking for more help. And I thought, well, that's weird. So either they were trying to fund a war chest to be able to challenge this legally, and then somebody, Willie out at Quinnahock, out in the village, said, we're not done with Peltola. There's rumors out there that she's going to be running for retiring Senator Lyman Hoffman's chair or the governor's office. She could make a run for governor. Hence the last week of campaign funding drive. Oof. That's a thought, right? I mean, I was just happy that we'd probably be done with her, but she's going to run back into the legislature potentially for Lyman Hoffman's chair. And if you don't think there's a little horsepower in being a former congressman and then being back in the state legislature, and now she has all that name recognition going in and maybe running for the governor's office. Oh, man, this just, what? It's crazy. All right, we got some other races we're going to go over. We're going to go over some of the other numbers as we get closer. Remember, we have 2 more days for all the overseas ballots to finally hit. And then they will start the ranked choice tabulation on Wednesday, but 2 days. And that's when all the stuff will finally be put into motion, and they're going to call it. And then they decide, what is it, the 25th? The 25th, Monday the 25th will be the final day when it's all said and done. So we're going to get into all that and continue our discussions. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We will return with more here in just a moment. We'll be back.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. We're going to leave this screen up right now while we go back through here. Brian. Yeah, I know. And then Henry's like, what? The host did not vote for Begich as the first choice and still wants him to call in? Yeah, I told Nick what I was doing. He laughed. I mean, what are you going to do? You know? Henry also said, if this was true free-thinking radio show, I would call in, but it's not. Okay. All right. Okay. Is there enough votes to count victory for Begich? I'm genuinely curious because I thought it would go to ranked choice. You're correct. It is going to go to ranked choice because he would have to have 50 plus 1, right? And instead, he's got 48.72%. So it is going to go to ranked choice between now and then. I mean, there'd have to be another 3,000 plus ballots for it to cross the finish line to that 50%. And that's not going to happen. Okay. So it is going to go to ranked choice voting, but as to the ranked choice tabulation. But again, statistically, we know that, again, 30% of these votes were bullet voted and will be exhausted, meaning there'll only be 8,000 votes there that are left to be counted, and about the same amount for Hafner. So again, it's just statistically, it's improbable, highly unlikely that she would be able to overcome this nearly 10,000 vote lead by Nick Begich right now. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Greg says he's still waiting on District 6. So am I. Still waiting on District 6 myself. Wondering what's happening there. I am concerned. We're going to get into that here in just a few minutes. Nick said, yeah. Brian says, Nick will probably want to come on with Tulsi Gabbard and Coleon Noir the week of Thanksgiving when you're off. I got to tell you, if both Tulsi and Coleon wanted to come on the program, I would probably do a special show just that day. I would just do it. We'd figure it out. If I had to do it over the phone, we'd figure it out. We would do it, you know, we could do it. Yeah. All right. Careful. Teresa said, careful, you're giving them ideas. I don't know what I said to give them ideas, but you know, there you go. Amy says ranked choice voting isn't going to pass. They found more ballots in a village. Well, we'll see. It's got to be close, man. I mean, so squeakingly close. We're going to get into those numbers here in just a minute. Brian said the fundraising thing was an act of desperation by Nancy girl supporters. Yeah, we'll see where it goes. And who's even on deck for governor? Nancy, Mary? Well, also, of course, we've heard Click Bishop has wanted to try and run. Peter Machickies wanted to try and run. Natasha von Imhoff has wanted to try and run.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me. I just don't fathom it.
Yeah, I mean, there's rumors that she that she maybe and Machicki want to get together and do governor, lieutenant governor, co-thing. I don't know. I'm going to see. Brian says Harris did the same thing towards the end of her political career. It was sold as a legal defense fund because Trump didn't say that he would accept the results. Yeah, I mean, again, it could just be a lawfare fund, or she could be raising money to do something because she would be allowed to use that money to run for other office. So that's a very big possibility. That would be a big possibility. If you vote Libertarian, your candidate will never do you wrong. That's true. If you vote Libertarian, your candidate will never do you wrong. More than likely, your candidate will never be elected, but I still feel like that's a solid vote. I still feel like it's a solid vote. Personally, that's just me. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Let's do it.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
All right, welcome back to the program. It is the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Phone lines are open. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. If you want to sound off, now's the time to do it, baby. We got phone lines open and ready to go. We're going to go through some of the other numbers from the various races around the state that people are. Oh man, my temperature actually just went to -1. I thought I was supposed to warm up in the morning. Oh, I'm such a wuss these days. I cannot stand it. Oh, I hate it. I hate it when it gets below 0. You people in Fairbanks, you have my ultimate respect and pity. Ultimate respect and pity. I did my time there. The warden said I could go on parole for good behavior. 45 years of living at sub-zero temperatures for a big chunk of the year. You guys have my respect. All right, let's start taking a look at some of the other races that are going on out there. A lot of them we know, what the full rundown is. The Senate District D, that's my saddest district. That's the Ben Carpenter, Jesse Bjorkman race. This is where I think lies, damn lies and statistics. I think this is where it played out in that race, with Bjorkman taking 47, almost 48% of the vote to Carpenter's 40. That's a sad day. District F is still kind of up in as a toss-up right now. 48% for Kaufman, 44% for Janice Park. But separating the two of them is only about 550 votes. With our resident expert in the chat room, Harold Borbridge, a Republican, taking in 1,100 votes. So it just depends on how Harold's second choice votes break out. I mean, I don't know if Harold wants to comment in the chat room. Did he encourage people to vote for him first and James second? Or because Harold has some very progressive leanings and has never made a real secret about it here in the chat room, he supported Nancy Peltola and he supported Kamala Harris in the chat room pretty vocally. Does that mean that his second choice votes will go to Janice? We don't know. But with 1,100 votes in play and only 550 votes between Kaufman and Park, it'll be interesting to see where that race runs out. Will Harold's candidacy end up splitting the vote one way or the other? It's going to be interesting to watch. The next one is Senate District N. This is a decisive victory, but I just wanted to celebrate it a little bit. Senate District N is the one in the Mat-Su. That is the seat that's currently being held by David Wilson. There will be no ranking in that race, even though there were 3 candidates, because Robert Yunt, the new upstart, has taken that seat with a 52.69% vote. That's an outright win. There will be no ranked tabulation in that race. David Wilson at 29%. I would call that a repudiation. That's a repudiation of Wilson's policies and actions. as a member of the state Senate. I think people are a little upset over the fact that he went ahead and stood by while his fellow senators from the Matsu, Mike Shower and Shelley Hughes, were ostracized and pushed off into a corner. And I think this vote shows that kind of repudiation of that. When the newcomer beats you 52% to 29%, that pretty much says it all. One of the races that I am a little sad about, obviously, which was a hard-fought, hard-won race, Senate District P up in the interior, Scott Kawasaki, the 20-year incumbent, against Leslie Hajdukovic, the newcomer, 51.38% for Kawasaki, 48.34% for Hajdukovic. Now, you would say, well, there's still absentees and everything. There's almost a 340 vote discrepancy between the two. I don't see 340 overseas absentee ballots coming in by Wednesday. I think this race is pretty much done at this point, which again is unfortunate. I think Hajdukovic had a very, very good race. And you could see the desperation in Kawasaki's moves at the very end there. I thought that was interesting to see as he was trying to hang the SB 21 referendum vote on Leslie. I don't know how successful that was. I just knew that this was a very close race and a very expensive race. Holy cow. There was some real money thrown around in that race. Senate District R was one that everybody was watching. This was Team Evil versus, anyway, Mike Kronk wins that race outright. 51.88% for Mike Kronk. Savannah Plesher at 41%. So again, a pretty significant win. And she had a lot of backing. On that race. And so it was good to see Mike Kronk. He's going to be moving from the House of Representatives over to the state Senate. This is Click Bishop's old seat. I don't know what this is going to do to the majority, but this is what I want. Now I'm going to be watching the organization of the Senate. And we're going to see what's going on there. Somebody in the chat room just said Scott Kawasaki had an amazing ground game. Scott has always been good at working the people. Always been good at working the people. There's been jokes and chuckles that Scott will be on the floor in the chambers while people are up there speaking, and he's at his little desk there, and he's signing birthday cards and little things to all his. He's very good at that high touch with his constituency. Now, he's using government money to do it, which is ironic. He's using all of his office funds to reach out, and he's constantly. It's soft campaigning, but that's the thing. You want to have a high touch with your constituency. He's very, very good at that. His ground game is very good because this is all he does. He doesn't have a job, other than this. He's got to retain it. All right, so now we get into some of the House districts, and the first House district that I want to talk about is House District 6. In my adopted hometown of Homer and the surrounding areas down there on the Southern Peninsula. Sarah Vance, the incumbent, at 46.74%, with Brent Johnson, the nonpartisan, at 43.65%. Now, the difference between the two is only about 350 votes. A total of 11,000 votes cast in this race. Vance is at 51.95. Johnson's at 48.51. So just about 350 votes, roughly, between the two of them. Dawson Slaughter, the Republican, the other Republican in the race, is at 1,042 for 9% of the vote. How is this going to play out? Well, it depends. There are rumors around that Dawson, and I have not heard this directly. I'm just reporting. I'm repeating what I have heard. I did not hear this from the horse's mouth, but there have been rumors that Dawson and Johnson, that Slaughter and Johnson had kind of had a compact between them where Dawson was going to tell people to vote for Brent second. If that's the case, that could be problematic because, again, there's only 350 votes between Sarah Vance and Brent Johnson. So it just depends on how Dawson Slaughter's second place votes fall out. Will they be bullet votes? Will people vote party and do the bullet, rank the red? Voted Dawson first and Sarah second? I don't know. But this race is too close to call right now. There's no way of knowing. 350 votes separating Sarah Vance from Brent Johnson right now, with Dawson Slaughter's numbers to be tabulated starting day after tomorrow. That's when the tabulation starts. And that's going to be, well, I guess that'll be my second disappointment if Sarah loses that race. I've made no bones about it. I would like to see Sarah Vance go back again. All right, my next race that I want to get to, again, I do want to chuckle just for a moment about Julie Colomb versus Walter Featherly. She handily won that race, 52.69% to 47.11%. So I was very, very happy to see that as well. A lot of these other races are kind of walk-ons. Let's go up to House District 15. Mia Costello and Denny Wells with Dustin Darden in the background. Mia Costello winning that race outright, 51.98%. So there will be no ranking. She took over the 50% threshold, which I think is a very, very solid race. She's got over a 500 vote lead on me. Even if Dustin Darden hadn't been in the race, there were only 231 votes for Dustin Darden. So it wouldn't even have mattered. She handily took that race. And that's good to see. It's good to see her get back in there. She and I don't always agree, but I think she's a solid when it comes to a lot of the core issues. House District 18. Don't tell me that your vote doesn't matter. Don't tell me that your vote doesn't matter. House District 18 is Cliff Grow and David Nelson. And this is the Northern Anchorage J-Bear portion of the House District. Cliff Grow is at 50.10%. David Nelson is at 49.81%. But what does that translate to? 10 votes. Cliff Grow is ahead by 10 votes. Now, this is where those overseas ballots could make a difference because J-Bear is a big part of this district. And if you're still waiting for some of those overseas ballots to come in, it's only a 10-vote difference between David Nelson and Cliff Grow right now. So, I mean, fingers crossed in the final tabulation. I mean, the difference in this vote is going to be so stinking slim. Right now, it's 0.3%. That's the difference in this vote right now. So 10 votes, 1713 to 1703. Let's just hope that there's some overseas ballots that are about to hit the mailbox this morning. That's all you can ask right now as we go through. All right, we're still going through some of the different races. We're also going to get into the Prop 2 here in just a moment. What are the other races that I highlighted? The races that I really wanted to focus on here this morning. House District 27, Jubilee Underwood versus David Eastman. That race has tightened up, but Jubilee Underwood is still 200 votes ahead of David Eastman and has crossed that 50% threshold, 50.64% for Jubilee Underwood versus David Eastman, a 200 vote difference. But there were 99 write-ins. 200 votes separate the two candidates, but then an additional 99 write-ins. Maybe nobody was happy with any of that. That's the crazy part. And then the other race in the Matsu, which is Alexi Moore, Stephen Menard, and Jessica Wright, that race is going to go to ranked choice tabulation because Alexi Moore is ahead by about 130 votes at 37%, Stephen Menard at 35%, and then just under 2,000 votes for Jessica Wright at 25%. So this will go to a ranked choice tabulation. I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to play out. No idea. how that's going to play out. I'd love to see Lexi Moore take this race, but I am uncertain as to what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. All right, we got a couple more House districts, and then we're going to get into the ballot measure, and we'll talk about that. We'll continue in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return with more in just a moment. Again, phone lines, 319-527-3864 if you want to sound off on any of this as well. We're back with more right after this.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Oh, I'm with you, Fat Ray. Fat Ray says the amount of time it's taking to know the outcome of these elections is outrageous. I couldn't agree more. To me, this is also one of the biggest problems with ranked choice voting. But I mean, it took 13 days for them to get that final precinct in. I mean, we are in the day and age when you can know what happened around the world on the other side of the planet. You could know in less than 5 minutes that something big happened, something catastrophic, an event or whatever. You could know in 5 minutes. And yet it took 13 days to figure out what the last precinct, it's mind-boggling. You're right. It's outrageous. We need to do better. We need to do better. All right. Good morning, Jeannie. How are you? How are you? Good morning. A little late this morning. Fat Ray also said the problem with Scott is his constituents. Well, I mean, he lives in an area that is very bluish purple. His district is a bluish purple district. It encompasses a large part of the university and a lot of those other people. So that was always going to be a tough race for Hajdukovic. Terry says, I can't believe Sarah didn't take it by a landslide. Well, Homer is also a very polarized community. There are people on both sides of the aisle. I mean, you had Paul Seaton there for the longest time, right? And it's just the nature of the beast down there. The nature of the beast is that they are very split on a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily make it bad. It just means that, and if they get out there on that ground game and they did good, and if it turns out that Dawson Slaughter was telling his people to vote and rank Brent Johnson second, well, first of all, that should pretty much end his career as a Republican. But second of all, it's kind of dirty pool, but it is what it is. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right. Frank says, and why did MD not score higher in math? He's doing, because I was telling people, for those of you just joining us, I said I was cleaning out an old closet and I found a box of stuff my mom had sent me that included all my high school report cards, and I had 5 or 6 semesters and I never did well in math. I think I just didn't like it. I did fine in regular math and even into algebra, but when I got into algebra geometry, that's when I started really sucking at math because I really wasn't paying attention. I didn't care. Anyway, I can do basic math. That's about it. That's it. Bill says this sucks. It should be over with. Yes, I agree. I know. We live in a world where Amazon knows based on search history and items purchased that a woman is pregnant sometimes before the woman does, says family. I know, right? I mean, they can know that you searched for shoes, and they're going to show you every kind of shoe in the morning, in the world. In the next morning, they're going to show you all. But we can't figure out how somebody voted in a. Yeah. The closer the race, says Kevin, the closer the races are, the longer it takes to get more ballots to make it swing the other way they want. Oof. Sandy says, I'm not shocked by the Sarah Vance race. She says, because Brent grew up here also, and he has the fishing community behind him. True. I mean, there is a good contingency. I mean, I would never expect that in a race that focuses around Homer and Anchor Point and those areas, I would never expect one of those races to be a blowout for one side or the other, because it is a very split community. Not split in a bad way. It's just equal, you know what I mean? It's balanced, I guess, maybe you say, instead of split. You got people on both sides. I would never expect it to be a blowout in one side or the other. Yeah. All right. Math is a radical left's list. If they only knew how much time Sarah spends working on fishing issues, says Kevin. I mean, she talked about that last week when she was on the program pretty extensively. And yeah, I think she is working on that. But again, perception, reality, we'll see how that is. Okay, look at that. We're all caught up. I think I got through everything. That was there. Willie says Kronk is with Showers, Hughes, Myers, and Yunt. And Kronk. Yeah. That's 5. What else? I mean, I don't know where else we can go from there. What will Bjorkman do? What will Kaufman, or what will anyway. All right, we got to go. My brain just locked up. Let's go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe. Let's do it.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Huh. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, Kaufman. That was James Kaufman. I had a minor brain fart there for a second. All right, welcome back to the program. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Final segment for this beautiful Monday morning. Just a quick reminder, I will be off all of next week. Of course, Thursday and Friday of next week is Thanksgiving, so I would have already been off, but I decided to take the 3 days ahead off as well. I got a lot of things happening, and we'll be back on the air on December the 2nd, Monday, December the 2nd, the following week. So 2 weeks from today, we will be back on the air. We're here all this week, and then we take all of next week off. So just FYI, just in case you wanted to know. All right, we're going through the final numbers. These are the numbers that came out as of 4 p.m. on Saturday. It's kind of ironic that here we are 13 days after the election, and we still don't know the results. I mean, we still don't know the results of what's going on in the election. I mean, it's so frustrating. We finished up with District 28, which I said is still a toss-up, with Alexi Moore at 37, Stephen Menard at 35, and Jessica Wright at 25. All Republicans. That's going to go to ranked choice tabulation, which happens on Wednesday of this week. They'll start tabulating. I don't know who's going to win. There's only 130 votes between Alexi and Steve Menard. So I don't know which way that cat is going to shake out at all. Just another pain point here. Frank Tomaszewski taking his race 55% over Joy Beth Cottle in Fairbanks. This is one of those races where they tried to stealth in a progressive candidate as a Republican. Joy Beth Cottle is not, I mean, she's running under the Republican label, but her history is, anyway, people weren't fooled. 55% for Joy Beth for that race. District 36. Now, this is an interesting race out in the, this is the former Mike Cronk's district. out there. And this is an interesting race because we had a lot of people to begin with. It ended up being the top 4. And there is no clear winner at this point. Rebecca Schwanke came forward with a 35.7% vote as the number 1 candidate. Brandon Kowalski, the Democrat, came through with 32.97% with about 260 votes, 250 votes between the two of them. But then Pamela Good is in 3rd position with 25.53% of the vote. She is also a Republican, and the Libertarian James Fields is trailing the whole pack at 5%. So this race again is going to be how many of Pamela Good voters ranked Rebecca Schwanke second. That's how this race is going to shake out. How many? Because if a significant number voted Rebecca Schwanke second, or they bullet voted, which is very possible for, I think, Pamela Good's voters to have bullet voted her, because a lot of those, because she's kind of an absolutist candidate, it would be very possible that most of them did. I don't think many of them would have picked Kowalski. And I feel like maybe some of James Fields' candidates would have picked Schwanke. Maybe it's a split between Schwanke and Kowalski there. But I think there's a good possibility that Schwanke will drag this across the finish line. If Pamela Goods, if they just bullet vote and she keeps her lead, that's fine. If they did vote for Rebecca, I think it will pad her win on this. I am expecting Rebecca Schwanke to take this race in House District 36. I would be willing to put a little bit of money on that. I would say $5 says she's going to take it. House District 38. This is CJ McCormick's seat, and he got spanked by Nellie Jimmy. Now, nobody has hit that. We haven't hit the wall yet. We haven't hit the 50 percentile. Nellie Jimmy at 36, CJ McCormick at 32. Our old friend Willie Keppel, listening, he's in the chat room this morning. He got 25% of the vote. Willie, who were you telling everybody else to rank second? That's the question. You know, who did you tell them to vote second for? Or are your voters going to be bullet voters? Right now, there is only about 160 votes between Nellie, Jimmy, and CJ McCormick, but it's kind of a referendum on CJ McCormick on this. They were not happy with him. So we'll see. This is going to go to ranked choice tabulation on Wednesday, and we'll see how that rolls out as well. All right, now we're on to the ballot measures. Ballot measure number 1, final votes, all 100% precincts reporting in. The only thing left to count, I think, are some of the absentees and then any overseas votes that will come in by Wednesday. But right now, the ballot measure number 1, the minimum wage bill, 57% to 42% said yes. This is going to have some real effects on business here in Alaska. I don't think people understood that. I just don't think this one flew under the radar. I don't think people understood it. And we'll see what happens. But there's going to be, there might need to be a repeal of this one as well in 2 years, just because of the costs to the employers, if nothing else, let alone the First Amendment issues, which are a whole nother kettle of fish. And of course, the big one that we've been waiting for is ballot measure number 2, the repeal of ranked choice voting. This thing is so close, so freaking close right now. Ranked choice voting, the repeal is at 50.14%. 4.14%, just over 0.1% difference between the two. 310,000 total votes cast, and it's 155, 592 for the yes, 154, 697 for the no. That's just 900 votes out of 310,000. Now, all the precincts have reported in, and whatever, I think they've gotten through most of the absentees. We're going to have to see how this lays out. But 900 votes. This is obviously, it's going to be recounted. because I think it's anywhere within 0.5% is an automatic recount. And I think if it's a full point, I think a candidate can demand a recount. Somebody can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But 900 votes, point. I mean, we're talking about this is a squeaker. Overall, that puts it at point. What is that? It's 20, 30. So this is 0.28% difference right now. That's the difference between the yes and the no. Just over a quarter of a percentage. It's got to be so close. But remember, it only passed at what? 50.53%. So it barely passed at just over 0.5 percentage point. So when it's gonna be crazy. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I agree, Fat Ray. Fat Ray just in the chat room just said, "What happened to election day? It's election month anymore." That's the thing. Why? I mean, here we are, 13 days. We just got these numbers in. Why does it have to take so long? And some of this is ranked choice, but some of this is just the Division of Elections not get. You know what? Charter a plane and have a plane on standby on election night at every one of these locations. Well, that'll cost money. Well, have a plane on standby at every location that needs to be flown out, consolidate them down, get everything to the one location in these various, and I mean, why? Why in this day and age do we have to wait 13 days to get the numbers? I guess that's not fair. I guess it was 12 days because they counted them on Saturday, or 11 days. But why? I mean, elections are done. They've taken the signs down in other parts of the state. They've moved on. We're still dissecting this stuff here because we just can't get the info. That makes no sense whatsoever. We have to do better. We have to do better. But some of this is ranked choice. Another reason why I think it needs to go as well. All right, we got to go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We will return tomorrow. Brad Keithley, Chris Story. Be kind, love one another, live well. We'll see you then. Isn't Nancy Dahlstrom the final authority in Alaska elections? If so, she doesn't need to be anywhere near the governor's seat. I mean, you have one job as lieutenant governor. One job. It does make my show prep easier. Yes, Brian, it does. You know, it does. Terry says the Division of Elections can be blamed for the delay. It was a real eye-opener when I was ballot watching. Yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't take this long. What if it was it wouldn't take this long if it was crime evidence to get across the state. No, okay, I see what you're saying. If it was evidence in a criminal trial, it wouldn't take this long to get it across the state. No, I agree. Absolutely. Denise said, I heard some mail absentee votes are transcribed on the ballots, then run through the machine. I hadn't heard that. I'd like to know who said that and what the sources are. I'm curious, you know. Yeah, it's crazy. Lynn said at the Wall Builders Conference in Dallas this past weekend, the most asked question we got was if our elections are final yet. The answer is, of course, no. How backwards is Alaska at that point? I mean, everybody else has decided their votes, and we're still like, nope, can't decide. Oh, man. All right. We will continue tomorrow. Tamale? Tamara? We're going to be here tomorrow. We will see you then. Be kind, love one another. What? This grading thing is getting bad. Brian says this is a solid B plus for me today, which was, it's a little bit higher than my average. I was usually a B, but okay, we're good. All right, my friends, we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.